Morning, everybody. I'm super excited to welcome Naomi Dreifuss, founder of Zugit. Naomi, welcome.
Thank you so much. So excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I know we've been going back and forth for a bit. I'm so glad that finally this got scheduled. Looking forward to talking to you. I know it's a little bit late where you are, so thank you for staying up late, but I'm excited about the conversation.
Absolutely. Been looking forward to this. Pleasure to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about you and then your company. So if you would like to take a moment to introduce yourself as well as Zugit, I think that'll be great for our audience.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's lovely to meet anyone who's listening. My name is Naomi. I am the founder and CEO of a company called Zugget. I am a salesperson. I've been doing B2B enterprise SaaS sales for about 10 years now, particularly in the data space, companies like Sisense, BI, and previously to that, alumni, SaaS, and all different kind of platforms. I love working with people, and I'm now building the ecosystem AI system that is basically going to help strategize how companies do channel partnerships.
That's pretty awesome. So over the last 10 years, right, SaaS was kind of in the middle of it. I mean, it started about 20 years ago. There's a little blue company here called Salesforce that they began this whole thing with a no software campaign.
Yeah.
And then the infrastructure evolved. And, the last 10 years, SaaS is pretty much an established category. So tell us a little bit over the last 10 years. Did you sell through channel partners, resellers, or was it a direct experience? How did you go to market?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I'm 32 years old, so I know what I know. I haven't been in it for too long. My first job, I was an account manager in like a digital marketing agency, and then I started looking after clients and it turned into a sales role. And then I moved straight, like jumped in the deep end and went into cybersecurity for a bit. And I was selling all of a sudden these things that I had no idea, about that world. And it was really interesting, but I was succeeding when it came to, growing the business for the companies. And it was heavy, boring kind of, big tech. And then I moved into more like SaaS B2B startup-y places. So I'm actually based in Tel Aviv, the land of startups. And it was very exciting because I got to work at first in a very, very early stage startup, closing the first few POCs and customers, if you remember that stage way back then, which was really exciting. It was actually the first company was an AI tool, and this is like 8 years ago. So people didn't know what that meant. And it was a crazy system back then. Today it's even further. But then I went on to the next role, also doing sales. I'm originally from London, from the UK. So selling to the UK, to Australia, to America, very fun and colorful. And then last, I was working in this BI company called Sisense, which is fantastic. It's a unicorn. And it was the first place where channel partners are used because it's big tech, it's big decision making, there's a lot of data involved. And I started working in several different ways with channel partners, and I was really trying to understand how to leverage them best as a salesperson. It was really tough. It sucked. Every time you move the territory as a salesperson, so you don't only move, BDRs or SDRs, you also move channel partners, and you need to build that relationship with them, learn how to work with them. I just found it exhausting and very complicated, quite frustrating. One day, things were changing in the company, and they said, we're going to be letting go of a lot of salespeople, and we're going to really be growing out our channel partners in certain areas of the world. And I was just sitting thinking to myself, like, what is happening to direct sales? I better get a hold of things because I'm not going to be around here very long otherwise. And that's kind of where I started this journey.
Awesome. So did that lead to Zugit, starting up your own company?
Absolutely. So I just was kind of sharing my frustrations with other salespeople in other companies. And I was trying to figure out, how do other places do this thing better? Why am I the only one who has sucky partners to work with? Why am I the only one who it's really annoying working with the partnership team? Like we don't know, we're not aligned. We're not on the same page. Friends in all companies were like, yeah, that's channel partnerships. Like it sucks. And I was like, well, it's really annoying because if you have good channel partners, look how far you can go. And then I was trying to find out, what could I bring internally to change how I'm working with channel partners and what can I not change because it's just kind of too complicated. To cut a long story short, it was just all too complicated. So I said, let's try and fix something. Let's try and build something. And that's been the last 2 years of my life, a very wonderful, enjoyable, challenging, fun journey. And yeah.
So that's amazing. So what does the word Zugget mean?
Yeah, so Zugit actually in Hebrew is Zug is a partner. So I'm like on GoDaddy looking for, what's the domain like? What is this thing going to be? And then I was thinking about these partnerships, regular partnerships. No one finds them simple. I don't know anyone of my friends who is married and has never had an outsider come and help them zoom out, take a look at what's going on, and maybe get some tips on how to improve that partnership. So I thought, let's just stick to partnerships. We'll use a different word because there's a lot of partnership words. And also, I wanted to kind of be in disguise when it came to the actual partnership word, because where I came from as a salesperson, people didn't love partnerships. If I would come at it as, I'm a changing partnerships and it's all about partnerships and partner channel, like those are the buzzwords that these people were struggling with, including myself.
So that's quite amazing. So I want to go back and double click on that, what you just said. Why do you think direct salespeople don't like the partner side of the business or find it challenging?
Yeah, well, if I open the number of notes I've written about this late at night, honestly, because it's really, really challenging. It hasn't worked well and it's been complicated. It's been annoying. There's loads of friction. As a salesperson who's experienced working with the wrong partners, you put your deals on the line. There's these partnership people that get in your way as a salesperson because they want to have a control over the partnership, but it's your deal, it's your pipeline. Your commission can get hurt from it. Like there's so many reasons. Your leadership don't believe in it. Like find me, how many CROs do you know who they came from partnerships? Why should they believe in it?
So if you kind of look back without getting anything confidential, can you walk through an experience where you was like, oh, this is not going the right way, and people are kind of feeling that way, and then kind of you look back and said, there were 3 or 4 things. If we just did it differently, that would have worked.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, for me personally, I was trying to build relationships with channel partners. And I started having these friendly Zoom calls, doing the fluff, because I love that also. I do love connecting with people. And then we started sharing ideas of new use cases that we can work on together within the certain territory that I was focused on. And it became all of a sudden like a new book of business. It was really exciting. All of a sudden, there are these guys, halfway over the world. We've got this amazing idea together. We're working together on a bunch of leads. How are we going to go around them? But then I kept hitting these brick walls with the process because neither side really trusted the other. Internally, I couldn't really share with them too much data. They can't access my CRM. They don't know how I really price things and things like that. And from their end, their boss is saying, like, don't give them too much information because then they're not going to need us. And that salesperson is just going to, cut us out like the previous one did. So there was a lot of what I would call baggage. And before we jumped into this podcast, I mean, you said, you've been doing this for such a long time. I haven't. I'm a total stranger when it comes to partnerships. And that's why I'm doing it, because I think a lot of the experience in channel partnerships can also be seen as baggage by salespeople, by leadership teams, and they want change. They want that Salesforce moment where you take the floppy disk and you flush it down the toilet, and they want different tonality. They want a different conversation, and they want new data. And so there's actually a huge shift that's happening now that we're really excited to be at the front of. I'm very early stage, we're very tiny, but we happen to be working with some of the most exciting companies in the world. So I think that it's just a timing thing as well. What happened to marketing maybe 12 years ago, that's having to partnerships now.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the change or the opportunity that you see happening now. And then you kind of jumped in with both feet. Like, what is it?
So there's been a lot of preaching about partnerships, and people have been kind of, you've seen it. You come from there, partners jump on board, and a lot of hit friction internally. But now internally, there's actually a message that's coming not from the sales leaders, even not from the CEOs. It's coming from their boards. It's coming from them investors, where the number one thing that companies need to be showing today is efficiency. So I'm going to probably zoom out of your regular partnership talks. And this is going to sound really boring, but the time of efficiency has arrived. Companies are fed up, quite rightly, of throwing money at different go-to-market motions that are just too costly and don't scale well, direct or indirect. And with channel partnerships, there's been this waiting game and this timing thing that has really made leadership like just have enough of waiting to see the ROI. And what I'm really focused on with these companies and what I see the shift in is they want to change that tone now. We want ROI on channel partnerships, and we're not going to wait 100 years for you to show it. If it's not working, throw it away, try something different. So they want to see Agile like in their development teams, and they want to see change like in their marketing structure. How long can a organization be doing something the same? If you look at, the Cisco's and the AWS, they're changing their partner profiles, their partner programs, their commission structure. So how are so many SMB and other enterprise companies not? Like, how is that only changing every 3 years for the average enterprise company? That's very, very slow adapting to the market, adapting to technology. Like, look how much is changing right now. So yeah, that's kind of the change that we're focusing on is coming from, the board. They're saying, guys, why are you not growing with the ecosystem, and why are you not doing it cheaper and faster?
So when it comes to that word efficiency, and you kind of alluded to when you get partners because you want to get reach, you want to get coverage, and ultimately you want to get productivity, that you get more sales at a less dollar, right?
Yeah.
But each of them, I had a boss used to say it takes 9 months to make a baby, but it takes almost, 18, 20, 36 months to get some sort of a functioning channel. So it's a lot of investment up front. So
Yeah.
do you see younger companies are coming to the market with a mindset like the way they have an R&D budget? Because you build a product, even though there's a notion of MVP that you go build and roll it out 6 months later, but there's a lot of companies stay in stealth mode
Yeah.
for like year and a half. But do you see that level of patience on the ecosystem build out that the board is taking?
So no, different expectations, but different kind of companies. The companies that have been born the last year, they're very different to ones who are born, even 3 years ago. Their leadership team are different, and the speed of their technology is different. So the speed of the go-to-market needs to be as well. We're seeing what's happening with like all these AI, product-led growth companies. I don't think we're really there yet. Like, there's only a few of them who within, 20 days, they've already reached millions in ARR and they're only 1.5 people. But still, there needs to be something in the speed of the go-to-market as well as internal sales, also in indirect sales. So it's changing a lot. I'm working with some really fun companies who have, these got crazy stories about their valuations in only 5 years. They're leading in cybersecurity and enterprise sales, and they're run by like it's not young. They're run by like really energetic, fun people. And they build things really fun and fast and loud. And they want their sales motions to be the same too. So they can't have a sleepy partnership ecosystem with sleepy partners and a sleepy team. They need things to be up and running.
So you're saying there's a lot of energy, which possibly relates to the efficiency that they're looking for. So talk to us a little bit about if you have to deconstruct or unpack a new organization, right? What are the
Yeah.
elements of programs, processes, people, infrastructure, maybe some revenue sizes, if it's a $50 million company versus a $100 million company, kind of walk us through what that.
So first of all, there's this whole product market fit thing. I think in partnerships it's very hard. Like, I haven't yet got a stable partnership program because I don't think I have enough product market fit for a partnership program to do so. And I think that that's something like the timing is important. There's no point on investing in the actual partnerships like hitting go too early, but you have to then like a year or so before that start creating the grounds. And, that's why I'm here today, because I see companies like yours. That's an excellent potential partner that already I'll be learning about, I'll be recommending. I want to be bringing you referrals way before I'm a referral partner. So I think that that's part of like how the motion is starting. So it makes sense how a lot of very great companies that I'm seeing, it's like the business development person who's helping with their sales side is also helping with their partnership side. Normally, I'm seeing though that means that they run straight to AWS or Google and they focus on the cloud alliances. But even with the cloud alliances, it takes time till you actually get a team who know how the programs work and how to actually get the value out of it and how to make you relevant for them to get their attention. And the channel side is normally kind of pushed to as far away as possible because it's really complicated. And so you need someone who's done it before to come and do it. And then, that's where I'm speaking to these CEOs and they're like, am I making the wrong hires? Or are we not ready for this? Like, what is going on? And why have I now had a year of expenses on partnerships and I'm not yet seeing anything? And that's when then I think, hopefully if it is a successful company and they're seeing revenue, that's when you need to bring everyone back around the table and you say, okay, do we want to have an ecosystem-led growth path here? Are we all on board? If we're not, let's say it. Let's own it. Let's not waste more time and resources, or, let's change accordingly. And you need a lot of collaboration there, I think, before you actually hit the go button. So if you don't have a CRO and a CFO who are like, yeah, we want this to work, then it could be disappointing.
I think, something you said earlier, I think it's a big idea, which is if you look at the world of software, I go back all the way, I'm going to age myself, the age of shrink wrap software, where, you kind of had a called Gold Master. You shipped the final release to the factory where they printed. In the beginning, they were floppies, as you said. Then they made it, CDs. Then we went to DVDs and you manufacture and ship them once a year. That was kind of the motion. And it was not that long ago, like 20 years ago. And what would happen is your product release cycle and your partner development cycle followed that. And it was treated almost like a piece of hardware because hardware took maybe 18 months and software release was every year. So there was Windows 95 release and then Windows 98 release. They were even 3 years apart, right? Then this company called Salesforce, they started to push this whole notion of, software in the cloud. I mean, it was not cloud then, it was application service provider. So what started to happen, and you used a very important word, is that people started to move from this long cycle development from waterfall based, more agile based. Because now that you're in the cloud, you can release features every month, right? So why wait a year? So what happened on the partner side is that the information density suddenly exploded because you went to a sales kickoff, you found out what is being released. You went to a partner kickoff, you found the hardwares are still released that way. Well, when it comes to software, people talk about roadmap. They don't talk about what's being released at that event. So what has happened, you're absolutely right, is that, on the supply side, things have moved to DevOps and Agile to a short cycle framework. But on the go-to-market side, we still have old rigid system that are tied to annual SKOs, annual partner kickoff, where things don't change as fast as they need to be. And it's very, very rigid.
It's painful to hear. It's such a waste of money.
Right? So I love the notion. So let's click on that whole notion of, sort of an agile base partner up. So, I was really surprised. I went online. This is about a year ago. I said, let me see what books are out there. And so Jay McBain talks about 70%, $5 trillion in IT and $16 trillion manufacturing flows through the channel. There are 31 books in Amazon. And I was shocked. And half of them, when you read them, you're like, I don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to do with them. So there is a void of execution knowledge. What is partner operations or partner ops in this new age? But there are thousands of books on DevOps, on ML ops, on AI ops, right?
Well, I think that, first of all, do we need books? we have podcasts, right? So hopefully this content is going to be helpful to people. If not, I apologize. Today, it might be a good thing that there aren't many books on partnerships, because that might have just made it a bigger gap between partnerships and those other organizations, because of the old ways things ran. It was so much easier to change, how we market. You started using HubSpot, you started sending newsletters, but to start changing your relationship with these companies that you only see twice a year, it's really complicated. One of the most interesting things that we've had until now. So when I started the company about nearly 2 years ago, I started by just interviewing chief channel, head of partnerships. I'm a salesperson. I love doing it. I really enjoyed it, and I continue doing this. And I've now till today met with over 300 US based B2B enterprise companies who have significant channel revenue coming into the company. And once I hit, like, I don't know, maybe number 60, to be honest, because I'm really impatient, I was like, you know what? I've got to change this. Every time I speak to a vendor, I need to speak to a partner. And I started cold calling partners. They were so happy to share what was on their mind. And one of the biggest frustration was in this education that they get from all these different vendors. So, like, who is a partner and why are they not spoken about enough on all of these channel things that we follow? And we have the same news feed, because there's very few people who talk about partnerships. It's a tiny bubble still. It's very easy to break into. So what about the partners? So your regular partner, if they're good, if they're, a regular mid-market channel partner, they're dating not only you as the vendor, but about 4 of your competitors, right? So everyone's there on the shelf. And everyone has these different systems that they need to log their sales process through, which is really annoying as a salesperson. Like, imagine salespeople hate Salesforce, like using it internally. Imagine if you have 10 different systems that every time you need to log your sales process with. And then everyone has slightly different commission, and everyone has slightly different perks, and a different team, and a different product. And all you really care about is your customer, right? So for them, it's not just that, like, we don't know what your latest feature does. You're actually, putting them at risk in front of their customer. And that is what needs to be top of mind here. This is all about the end customer. We only want channel partners because they're close to our customers, right? So I think it all comes down to that. And everything that we speak about now, today, but also in general, if the value isn't going to bring the company more, growth via customers, then what is it there for?
So are you building something that, instead of providing a portal to the brand, are you providing something to the marketplace where the partners can log in? So what is the idea here?
So like version 7 out of 200 was that. So I said, like, we spoke with over 300 companies today. So we've had several different products that we've shown to the market. We've seen the different traction they've got and the different ICP that they attract. And we've really been trying to pinpoint, what it is that we want to focus on. And I think that today, most startups, companies, this is how we start. What happened was, at first, we wanted to have something for the partners to access too. But then we were seeing the friction when it came to vendors asking partners to do things for them. And that's why so many of the companies in this space are struggling today, because there is such low adoption. So we said, okay, scrap that. We don't want to put them under, more pressure to log into another system. Let's just focus on what it is that they need. And that's when we basically were giving them a tool. The focus was feedback. So we were working with very large enterprise companies who have over, 9,000 partners globally. They were giving us all of their data, and we were starting to give them insights. And this is, if I go back a year, it's before everyone was talking about insights. And one of the biggest insights that we kept seeing was that there is a gap between them and their partner, and they don't really know what it is. So they have a gut feeling. They think they know what's going on in the relationship, again, like in a marriage. But then, is that right? Like, I don't know. Everyone has different personal lives. I can tell you, as a wife and a mother, I often think that I know what the other person is thinking, and I'm very far from the truth. So that was happening also in these B2B relationships. And then these channel guys were coming to their, VP channels, or, whoever it was leading it. And they were saying, no, that partner, he's great. Like, we're managing him really well. He's really promising. He didn't perform so well, but we got it there. And that's when we started saying, okay, let's stop listening to gut feeling and what people think is going on. Let's focus on the data. And then we basically went much more into a data driven model where we're basically now coming and we're giving the CFOs, first of all, clarity, visibility. They can start to feel more in control of their channel partnerships because they finally know what is going on there. And it also gets them backing them a lot more. So then when we deploy, we have a few like different AI agents that are helping the channel partnership teams then fill those gaps, but they have full backing from the CFO finally and from the CEO finally because it's coming from them. And that was like kind of the biggest journey and switch that we've been on. So companies need PR. You need those systems, of course, to actually manage your partners, but they're very limiting if you don't have everyone on board internally. And we want to help you first get that internal buy-in, let them see the opportunity, let them see also the faults, fix it together with them, and then kind of have this process as something that the whole company is leading towards and not just a siloed team on the side.
That's brilliant. So we have 27 Fortune 100 customers, right? Very, very large, complex ecosystems, lots of data in our platform, right? So if you had access to that data, what are the 2 or 3 things from a Zugit perspective you can offer?
Yeah. So first of all, that data is fantastic. There's so much data that they don't have available, these companies, data, for example, on their partners. One of the things that we do for many companies is that we update constantly the information on their partners. Is your partner's company growing or shrinking? Have they pivoted? Are they still there in front of your customer? They might not be your ideal partner profile anymore because they probably changed since 3 months ago when you last checked this. And we kept seeing in amazing companies that the data that they had in the PRM was from when they entered or when they closed this new partnership. But what happened since then? Are they working with your competitors? So that's first, like new data that we're bringing them on the partners themselves. And then there's the competitive data also that we're bringing. So I mentioned before cybersecurity. A lot of the companies that we're working with now are very hot cybersecurity companies. Many of them are using the same partners. So we're helping them understand, which of your partners are dating your neighbor and what do they like? What do they not like? What can you be doing to understand more? And that third piece that this kind of was all born from, again, in terms of actual product, is the feedback. So feedback when it comes to customers and partners, it's been so hard to get. People are mean when it comes to giving feedback. They have like the attention span of my 3-year-old and they'll just, click it a couple of times and that's it. And then we changed this and we started building this agent, and he's basically working with amazing teams. He's constantly, according to, specific triggers, gathering feedback and conversation with their partners. And then there's like a sentiment analysis, and you're able to actually see what is the current health score on this partner and what are they saying and what do they need. And it's analyzing it. And the AI is seeing this across the board. So it can be in, 800 partners or 2,000 partners, that it's then able to come back and say constantly to the company, what is it that they need today? What should your team be focusing on? Who should they be focusing on? So it's kind of more of the actual strategy, giving the empowerment for channel managers who have been, putting out 500 different fires with very little water to actually know now, where should I focus my efforts today? Who should they be on and what should I be doing?
This is definitely a big idea, Naomi, because, as I look back, including our customer base, most large companies, have a very long tail. So even though they hope to focus on top tier partners, at least half of the organization get engaged into escalation management from the tail. So the tail is neither productive, going back to your efficiency word, neither efficient, and it consumes a huge amount of energy and tension. So if you are able to not only just cleanse the data that you tell them who they are today, not when they signed up, because they don't transact very well, so you don't have a lot of transaction data that can give you the intelligence, but bring in some sort of an avatar-like interface where you don't have to put a human and interact with them. This is a very big idea. In fact, I was at a Silicon Valley forum. They're talking about the same exact thing, long tail customers, where they don't buy from you every day, but they buy. And you really don't have resources from a product management perspective to figure out. But let's build on it. So where are you right now on the solution? Do you have a prototype? Are you selling it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been working for over a year now with really exciting design partners. Actually, I was thinking just now as you said that, one of like the pivotal moments that helped us understand this is we were working like months ago with a company. They came to me saying, help us find new partners. And that was also something that I had built an agent that did back then. It's pretty simple. And there are going to be a ton of agents doing that specific role. But I said, okay, we'll help you get some new partners. And we looked at the data, we analyzed it. The AI said exactly what is that profile. And then it went and found new ones and it started bringing them every day, like 3 new leads or something that it had vetted for them. It was very cool. But then I was playing around on what we had built. And because it's now learning from lots of data of lots of different companies, it's also starting to understand itself. Like, what is an ideal partner profile, not based on your company and what we've taught it to understand, but based on your competitors and that guy, because it's all going into the system. They were hesitant and more moving forward with us because they felt like they really need to be focusing on recruiting new partners. Great, fantastic. I ran something and I sent them, we just send like these emails basically with like, what is the state of your partnerships? And it showed them that they've actually got within their system over 12,000 partners signed up. This is an amazing company, very successful, and they're driving over 20% of the company's revenue. And they've started with this whole partnership act only within the last 3 years. So it's really successful. Why would they need any help? But only about 800 of those partnerships are actually driving any value for them today. So I said, guys, I'm going to give you a list of our, competitors, other companies. Go and work with them to find new partners. But if you would like to find golden nuggets from within this pool of 12,000 partners, let's work together on that. So of course they kind of stopped, said, stop looking for new partners, find those golden nuggets. What is going on there? And that's just one of the stories. There's another company where we saw, one of the things that we were asking with the AI was like, who sold last year and didn't sell this year for my channel partnerships in a specific territory? Over $3 million of revenue was missed from partners who had what I call fallen asleep. Now, partners don't just fall asleep. They go and they sell your competitor. So why on earth is $3 million going to your competitor and not to you? And what is happening there? Because you're doing the fancy events, you're taking them out for drinks, you think that they're your best friend, but hundreds of them, they're falling asleep. What you think? So that's where we're up to now. And it's really exciting. We're working with really less startup-y now and more mature companies who have over 1,000 channel partners and who have data, who are using several systems. So also you asked about the data, but PRMs is one of the data sources. There's the CRM, and then there's the, enablement, and then there's the marketing. And we're also bringing everything together to have a single source of truth, because otherwise the systems aren't talking together, which doesn't harm in terms of like how people use your PRM. That's great. But in terms of how their management is having visibility into what is going on, it makes a lot of gaps. So we're trying to bring it all together.
So Zugit today, do you see, is it a product company or is it a services company or is it kind of combination of both? Or how do you see it today?
Yes, great. So it's a combination of both. We're coming in at first and we're a service. So we're working with the C-level. So it's sometimes with the commissions team or it's sometimes just with the CFO. We're helping them have an understanding, like a Bloomberg report, I call it, of what is the state of their partnerships. And then they love that service and they want that either monthly or quarterly. But they want to know that the recommendations and the actions that we're showing them should happen are being executed on. And that's where they're then putting us together with their channel partnership team. And they're saying, work with these guys. We've given you the okay. They've got tools and they'll help you do those changes. I'm new. I don't know how to do channel partnerships better than our customers. They're the ones who know to do it right. And they are the right people to be doing it, but they haven't had the right data. So we're just helping focus them on the right things and constantly giving the data so that they can track the improvement and that it's immediately noticed by their leadership internally and no one feels like, when are we going to see ROI? None of that talk anymore.
That's brilliant. So let's talk fast forward now, right? Next year. 24 months, 36 months out? What's your vision? Where do you think this can go? What is the opportunity? Who is your ideal customer from your perspective that can take this, software as well as the service from you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the future is bright. To be honest, we're really excited. It's a really exciting time to be doing this, especially because of AI. So I mentioned before, I'm in Tel Aviv. Until I opened Zugget, there actually wasn't one Israeli found company in channel partnership space. I think it was missing. So now I have these like genius tech people who are doing these incredible things that I wish channel partnership teams would have had a couple of years ago, and then there wouldn't be this humongous gap between them and the other teams, but that's okay. So we're pushing forward on that greatly. We love the PRM companies. We love all of the partnership tech companies, but we know that it's very hard for their customers to constantly be signing up for them and to have the internal backing for them, which is why we're very proud to be the ones who have the trust of the C-level and who then can make sure that they're actually using the right tools. So, we are partnering with companies like yours because our clients are coming and saying, do I need a PRM? Am I ready for it? Which one should we have? So, we've been working, testing out all the different systems. I hear from our customers what it is that they're using. We're also seeing when we use their data, who is collecting the best data in the best way. But also that is changing. So it's exciting because we're coming as the Bloomberg Central for the C-level, but we have a team of agents who are starting to work with more and more companies. And the ideal partner profile for us, the ideal customer, is a SMB to enterprise customer who has a channel partnership program that is up and running, that is fueled, that is bringing value, but that could be bringing so much more, and that really want to excel things and make sure that they move the needle. And there isn't that 20/80 rule anymore because it sucks.
And I'm going to start with the sad part, and then I'll come to the exciting part, which is the sad part is this entire data-driven analysis existed in the consumer sales space. Like when you think about retail, they have a
Yeah.
3% margin business. They cannot afford to have anything on the shelf that is not moving. So NCR, in the 60s or 70s, as point of sales devices are coming in, IBM had a big data services, which they sold part of it. So when we think about consumer retail, it is very, very data rich because especially when it comes to fashion, they test out like in a week or two, and then they tell their supply chain that these are the things that are selling, ship them, right, worldwide.
Yeah.
On but when you come onto the tech side, the people who are providing that tech, they don't use it. So the exciting part is for someone like you to come in and say, hey, you have the answer, right? Don't chase these other people. I think it's possibly a new birth of so-called partner relationship management because we may be chasing the wrong relationship and we may not be the right partner. They could have been the right partner 5 years ago, but not anymore. So bringing that insight in is going to have a huge value. So this is super exciting.
Yeah.
I had no idea. So I'm glad that we had this podcast. But what do you see
Yeah.
from an agent perspective? Maybe some of the challenges you can talk about from an adoption wise over the next 12 to 18 months.
When I spoke to leaders in our channel partnerships industry that you've mentioned, Ellie, in this call over a year ago, they said, just don't tell people that you're using AI because the channel people aren't there yet. And they were right. And I'm glad that I listened. They're still hesitant, but that doesn't matter because if you're still hesitant, then you're probably not going to be in your job in the next year. So we are looking to try and build technology that suits people who are not suitable for the role today. The role today needs to be data driven. You need to be efficient. If you want to, stomp your feet and do things the old way, then you're going to get stuck and you're not going to get anyways the money to buy tools like ours because we are expensive. So there's no point of us talking to you. So it kind of is, that's where we're up to. We're up to an agent stage. A lot of the agent stuff is fluff, right? There's hype, it's exciting, but I don't know how much you're using it. I can tell on myself, even the last week, I've been able to do things that I've never done before and so quickly and without hardly learning anything. So it's such an exciting time and you can, change so much. One of the biggest insights that we're getting this from is actually from investors. So, as a startup, we've been out there networking with investors, even though we haven't yet gone for institutional funding. But what happened, funnily enough, with them over a year ago is when I met them, they said, "Oh my God, can you talk to our portfolio company?" And our best referral partners are VCs, because they know that their portfolios are struggling to scale and that they're not efficiently growing and that they have struggled in the past when it comes to channel partnerships. So it's coming from them. So, everything's an exciting stage now, that's for sure.
So Naomi, this is just simply amazing. I've had guests before that had conversations like this. I'm like, we got to have him or her back because the story is not told yet. And I think your story is not
Thank you.
told yet. So I'd love to have you back. We're top of the hours, but it's been amazing. Thank you for being here. It was a
Thank
great
you.
conversation.
I'll say one thing before we log off, though. One of the biggest surprise I had about the partnership companies was their struggle to build partnerships themselves. And why I love how you've done this, bringing me on today, and also before, our interactions with one another. It's amazing to see leadership of a partnership company who actually partners. If someone is looking now at this and they're wondering about what technology to use, if it's going to be someone who's going to help you with partnerships, make sure that they know how to partner. And I think that you guys are really leading the way and partnering as companies should partner themselves. So thank you for doing that. And it's a great example for us all.
Thank you. It's very kind of you.